I think there's supposed to be a part there. What y'all think? All right, we just got done over here at Campbell Home Place. So before we change our hydraulic hoses and over and fold up and go to the next farm, I'm gonna check these towers, make sure all my seed tubes are still opened up. We tried upping our fan speed a little bit, about 150 RPM, see if that helps alleviate any of the problems we've seen on these seed hoses getting stopped up. And we also want to check our depth control handles, make sure no corn stalks poked them, and adjusted them and they're all putting out the right depth. Looks like right here on this wing, they're looking pretty good. All right, checking to see if it got blockages. It's not a hard job, although we are getting kind of nasty because we're up on this drill and it's dusty as all get out. So we got our fan turned off. We're just gonna pop this cap off. And then we're gonna look all in here. As long as we don't see any seed right in there, we're gonna be good. I can feel some seed right there on that one, so that one's plugged up. That's the one going up there. So we're going to crawl up there, take it loose, and try and get it all out. Looks like we got a leaky cylinder here. I think where it's leaking at is, I think it's loose right there, so see if we can get that tightened up, get some wrenches. All right, the best way I've found to clear these tubes when they get blocked up is loosen the clamp where the hose goes down into the boot and take it out there. First, we verify that there's nothing blocking the opening on the boot at the bottom where the seed exits and goes into the seed trench, because that can cause a plug up sure enough. So loosen the clamp and work the hose out. We got our fan on and we turned the RPM up to try and get a little bit more air pressure, and then we just kind of shake it, try and get all the seed coming out. And once we get good airflow, we know it's cleared. There we go. All right, we got good airflow now, so that's now unstopped. We'll stick it back down there, tighten our clamp up, and ready to go. All right, I just checked the rest of the towers, didn't find any more seed tubes plugged up, thank goodness. So looks like increasing our fan speed a little bit helps. You know, part of the problem is hydraulic flow. When the tractor lugs some, pulling the thing up a hill, my hydraulic flow drops a little bit, and I can see my fan speed drop below 3,500, and when that happens, that might be what causes these seed tubes to plug up. I just don't have enough experience yet to know for sure. All right, it looks like Uber Eats has arrived. All right, well, we've been running this air seeder now a little over a day since I modified the hydraulic hookups to use 2 remotes to give flow to 1 circuit, and it's performing a little bit better. I know with the fan, when it was on 1 circuit, I could turn all my other hydraulics off and turn that 1 remote up to 100% maximum hydraulic flow, and the highest speed I could get on the fan was like 41 to 4,200 RPM. So there was a huge restriction on that tip in that 1/2 inch end that was on that 3/4 inch hose. Now, when I plumbed it up to 2 remotes, now we can, if I max out my hydraulics, we can get we can get somewhere around 5,000 RPM. I still think we're being restricted by that 1/2 inch pipe thread on the end of that 3/4 hose, but we're not restricted by the quick coupler or anything. So we did improve that, and that was a big concern of mine, because you set the fan speed depending on how much seed per minute or how many pounds per minute that you're putting out. you know, right now we're driving 6 miles an hour at 62 pounds per acre. You don't have a real high flow rate of seed, and therefore you don't need as much fan pressure. However, when we go to wheat, you know, we're going to be going from 62 pounds per acre to probably somewhere in the ballpark of 150 pounds per acre. So therefore, we're going to need a lot higher fan speed. Otherwise, there's not going to be enough air pressure and airflow, and you're going to plug hoses up with seed. So according to the fan speed chart in the manual for wheat, and around 160 pounds and around 150 pounds seed per acre, at 6 miles an hour, we're going to need a fan speed of around 4,500 RPM. So the single circuit hooked up to the fan was not going to give me enough fan speed. So now that's going to be doable. However, we're going to need a lot more hydraulic flow to get that 4,500 pounds. So that's going to take away some flow on my row unit hydraulics. So we can get by with a lower fan speed, say around 4,200 RPM, if I drive, say, somewhere between 4 to 5 miles an hour rather than 6 miles an hour. So that might be a lot more doable with the hydraulic flow that we got, but then again, it's going to take more time. Now, one of the big features of this Bourgualt CD 872 air seeder is the LiftMaster function. Whereas, look, I'm driving, the drill is up, fixing to hit an uncovered, an unplanted spot, and it automatically lets the drill down. That's been a very nice function. Take this off. That's been a very nice function. However, it hasn't been perfect. Whenever you're doing your inrows or stuff, you got to make perfect that you don't leave any unplanted area in between your passes, especially up in the corners. Otherwise, when you're going to turn around, the monitor will see it, thinks it needs to be planted, and here you are turning and your drill is still in the ground. So I've got, every time I turn, I check this A button, make sure it's orange. That means that the units are up. If it's green, that means they're down. And I'll show you just what I'm talking about right here. All right, this is what we got left to plant, but you can see I've done my inrows right here, but you see there's a little sliver right there of unplanted, unplanted area. So if I were to do my passes going this way and I was going to turn and go back this way, the monitor would see it and I'd be turning around, but the drill would be down to try and plant that area right there. So that's the one thing you really got to be careful with when you're laying off your fields. You know, especially like right over here where you're turning and then backing up, make sure there's no areas in there that's not planted. But other than that, right there, the LiftMaster part has worked very well for me. There's been a couple of little hiccups here, but I just kind of got in the habit of every time I turn, I either turn and look and make sure that that light is orange. But also, as hard as this thing's pulling, you know, I can feel in my seat that all of a sudden the tractor's not pulling as hard. If that's the case, then I know the units are up and I don't have to look. Now, the other feature on this thing is called PackMaster, and it works in conjunction with the LiftMaster. And PackMaster is automatic hydraulic downforce. And I talked a little bit about this earlier about how it only uses one load cell, and I'm not using the PackMaster because of the varying amounts of corn residue in the row and not in the row, and kind of throwing it off depending on which way I was planting, and just not really giving me consistent readings. And that's why I think that this air seeder definitely needs more than one load cell. But something happened this morning with that load cell, and let me show you exactly what it did. All right, you see this little box right here? This is PackMaster right here. Right now, we're running on hydraulic pressure rather than the Packmaster, where we're running a set PSI, and I've got it set at 500 PSI, which is more than enough to get good consistent penetration and seed depth in our conditions. I've gotten down on the ground and verified it. But this top number right here, it says 6578. That's the load cell reading. Right now, the load cell is showing 65, almost 6,600 pounds on the load cell, even though the air seeder is all the way up and there's actually no pressure on it. So sometime this morning, I made one pass around the end row, and all of a sudden it went from reading right to reading close to 6,600 pounds. And I don't exactly know what happened. Most likely the wiring harness going to that load cell got damaged somehow. The wiring harness is encased in like a steel wire loom or whatever that looks really tough, but we're in some pretty serious corn stalks, and I'm guessing it just grabbed it just the right way and did something. I can't visually tell if there's any kind of damage on there. I've looked, but it looks fine. But when it comes to wires, you just don't ever know. But something is malfunctioned with that load cell. This TopCon monitor is not like precision planting, because on like precision planting, when we got dealing with load cells, we can go into the monitor and we can actually zero it out. And if it doesn't zero out, then we know for sure that there's a problem with the load cell. With this monitor, there's no way to go in there and zero it out. We can go in there and recalibrate it, but that's kind of a lengthy process. You need a block of wood to put up under the gauge wheel and all that kind of stuff. So that might be something I try to do tomorrow morning if I can remember to bring a block of wood with me to recalibrate it. But if it's showing 6,500 pounds with nothing on it, most likely there's an actual physical problem with the load cell. Now that's not stopping us from running right now because we're not using Packmaster. If we were using Packmaster, we wouldn't be able to operate this air seeder with that load cell the way it is. But we're running a constant hydraulic pressure, which you know, the load cell is not really needed. However, I was monitoring the load cell to verify that my hydraulic downforce was set at the correct level. So it's kind of aggravating that that's not working anymore, but I've got a pretty good feel with what kind of pressure is needed to get a good you know, to get good down pressure on the row units, and we're still doing a real good job seeding. Now, I've been so wrapped up here lately in this drill and trying to get a cover crop planted, and I didn't talk much about what else is going on. I think Andy and Kelly covered some of it, but Andy and Kelly have been working here the last several days since I got started drilling to spray all of our corn ground in front of me. We're spraying with paraquat to, for most part, to get any pigweeds that are out here that might have come up there late season with that rain we got when the corn was starting to dry down. You know, kill them before they go to seed, and then also other, you know, any other weeds that might not produce mature seed head yet. Is trying to get that cleaned up, hopefully lower our weed seed bank for next year. And then also yesterday they got started, they sprayed the first field of cotton with defoliant. Unfortunately, I was here, I wasn't out there. I'd given anything to smell that smell of Folex. You know, forget your pumpkin spice and all your other fall smells or whatever. Nothing screams fall to me like the smell of Folex, which is a common cotton defoliant. Been smelling it all of my 43 years and absolutely love it. But yep, we pulled the trigger on the first 43 acres of cotton that we didn't have to replant. Perfect timing for defoliation. It's been extremely warm, and it's going to be warm the rest of this week, so that defoliant ought to act pretty quickly. We'll have to spray it with a second shot either later this week or the first part of next week. And then but all the rest of my cotton, not ready yet. I mean, it's the first week of October and it's not ready yet. Right there, I was making a turn and there was one uncovered spot I didn't notice, and the drill didn't pick up. So that's kind of what I'm talking about with LiftMaster not being perfect. But anyway, talked with my Cotton Scout. He's thinking might have some more ready for the first shot of defoliant late this week, but the weather's supposed to turn late this week. I think we got a chance of rain, gonna have some cooler temperatures coming in, but you know, it's October. The growing season's pretty much done. We're trying to squeeze out a few extra days to mature those top bolls, but fortunately the last couple of weeks have been beautiful for late season cotton growing. Hadn't been, you know, hardly any rain, very warm temperatures, perfect for filling out that top crop. So as long as we don't have an early frost or freeze, I feel good, really good about the cotton crop prospects and being able to get it all open. But we're really gonna have to pay attention to that 7-day forecast real closely from here on out and make sure we get our defoliant supplied in a timely manner, and hopefully we won't end up with a bunch of acres like we did last year where we just couldn't get the top crop open trying to buy a few more days of growing season. Well guys, I've been lucky on my farm plenty of times before, but today was the luckiest I have ever been. Everybody knows when you're running a drill, an air seeder, or a planter, do not back up with the row units on the ground. Otherwise, that's going to shove dirt all up in your seed tubes and block your seed tubes. Now, we were laying off the field, come down on the end rows, coming up this way, coming up this terrace, and stopped. I picked the drill up and started backing around. I know I hit the button to make the drill go up because I saw it go from green to orange. And I don't know exactly what happened, but I started backing up this way, coming here to make a straight shot, laying off that edge. And I don't know exactly what happened, but about halfway through my turn, I felt the tractor really struggling and looked at my row units were on the ground. Don't know how that happened, but you can see right here where I backed up with the row units on the ground. Now that should have plugged all 48 seed tubes up with dirt, and I'd probably spent about a half of a day cleaning them all out. Now I don't know if this seed boot design is a little different than others or kind of tucked away a little bit or whatever. I did not have a single boot plugged up with dirt whatsoever. I folded it up, got to inspect them, and I was shocked. So I don't know if this thing is designed a little differently from other drills I've run in the past, but none of them plugged up. I don't recommend trying this at home, but I got lucky. Whether it's design, luck, grace of God, I don't know. We didn't have to unplug any units. However, that brought to mind another feature that I would like to see on this. The monitor knows which direction you're going. It can detect if you're backing up and knows speed and everything else. If it detects that your units are down and you're backing up, I'd like to see a feature either whether it automatically raises the units up regardless or screams out an alarm on the monitor or whatever. Because like I said, I know I hit the button to pick it up, I saw it go orange, but for whatever reason it decided to go down, or I've got harvest brain, I'm tired, I've been working late nights, I know I hit the button, I might not hit the button good. I don't know. I can't think straight right now. You know, we got all this technology. I mean, that would be a pretty simple feature to either lock the units up whenever you're backing up to where they can't go down, or at the very least scream out an alarm on the monitor. I mean, heck, we got alarms for just about everything else. Why not an alarm for, hey dummy, you're backing up and your row units are down. Whew, I'm glad I dodged that bullet.
Presentation covers the basic principles of pest management. This module will help you understand the importance of preventive and corrective measures. You'll become familiar.
Yeah, apparently my private applicator license expired. Helena called and notified me, so in order for me to buy chemicals the rest of the year, I got to recertify. So, but might as well multitask while we're drilling weed. I can listen to this. I already took the pre-test and passed it, but yet I gotta watch all this crap again and then take a final test. and take a final test, even though I passed the pre-test. Oh well, better doing the tractor than waste time in the office doing it. Hopefully this won't put me to sleep.
Here with why it's important to monitor pest populations when implementing an IPM program.
I think there's supposed to be a part there. What y'all think? Looks like somebody at the factory didn't torque my lug bolts down to the factory spec. Well, there she lies right there. Well, we got a broken lug bolt there. That wheel ain't looking so hot. 2 of those lug holes is wallered out pretty bad. 4 of them are okay. Looks like we're going to get a replacement. All the rest of them good and tight?
They're close to it at least.
Good and
tight.
Good and tight, the German torque system?
Yeah, the Canadian drill and the German torque system.
All right.
It should last. Seriously?
All right, it's back on there. It's definitely not 100%, but hopefully it'll hold for the last 125 acres we got to do. Bourgualt's gonna be sending me another one, but it's gonna take several days to get here. Well, we trying to make up for lost time for that few hours we've lost today trying to fix that wheel. And tell you what, I'm plumb whooped. You know, we've been on this thing. I think this is our 5th day, and we just haven't been covering the ground like we need to. We just had a bunch of minor things to work through, and then some a little bit bigger things like that wheel. You know, just typical new equipment trying to get the bugs worked out. You know, having brand new equipment is not all it's cracked up to be. When you got so many parts like this, you know, some things are just gonna get missed from the factory. And we've had a dust cap come off, we had wheel bolts that wasn't tight, and we had we've had 2 hydraulic leaks from where it wasn't tightened at the factory. We've had to reroute a few hoses, shorten some hoses because we were fighting block lines. So just typical new equipment problems. Bourgualt wanted me to learn about this equipment and give it a review, and you know, we're definitely learning a lot of stuff about this air seeder, just like the tank capacity. We're using tank 3 and tank 2. Tank 3 has a capacity of I think 105 bushels, and tank 2 has a capacity of 38 bushels, I think, which should be somewhere around 8,500 pounds. The second seed tender the co-op brought out with me, I thought I needed about 8,000 pounds to finish up, and that's what they put on is 8,000 pounds. We packed tank 2 and tank 3 as full as it would go, could not get another seed in there, and we didn't empty the seed tender, so we weren't able to fully get 8,000 pounds in there. I don't know what we actually got in there, but it was definitely less than 8,000 pounds because there's still some left on the seed tender. So tank 1 is not 105 bushels, tank 2 is not 38 bushels. And I kept on wondering why my tank was empty and I was still showing to have like, you know, 800 to 1,000 pounds in there, but my tank was empty. Well, because I wasn't putting in what I thought it would hold. And also we got this thing calibrated. We checked the calibration several times, and the calibration has been spot on, but it's telling me so far we've planted 24,650 pounds, and let's say there was 24,000 pounds on the first tender load, and it's saying that we've planted 1,400 pounds on this farm so far, so that'd be 25,500 pounds that we've actually applied, where it's telling me that we've applied 24,650, so the rate is off a little bit. Once we get done planting the cover crops, I'll know exactly how much it's off, but cover crops not a big deal. When we get to planting wheat, that's going to be a pretty big deal. And I don't know if the rate's off and the tank capacity is off because you know, we're planting a blend of cover crops. We got different test weights, different density factors and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if that's maybe what's throwing it off, or if it's just something's not quite right in the software. But we'll get that nailed down a little bit more whenever we get into wheat. All right, got 2 out of the 3 fields done on this farm. Got 1 more, like a 5-acre field to do, and then we'll be able to go back where the service truck is and call it a day and go home and get some sleep, because I know I sorely need some. All right, if Bourgualt wanted design testing in our real heavy residue tough corn stalks, well, by God, they are getting it this year. This is the wiring harness going to the load cell there in the middle. I was laying off this field, and all of a sudden the drill picked up and flashed a warning for ECU problems on my monitor here. Rebooted it, still there. Rebooted it, disconnected all power. That got rid of the warning. Turned around, go back to where the drill picked up at, and flashed again. So called Bourgualt. Luckily the guy I'm dealing with is extremely knowledgeable of these and was helped, and said most likely, since we was having issues with the load cell, that it was probably in the load cell harness. So went and looked, and sure enough, this was pulled loose, basically cut in half of where the load cell, where the harness goes down to the load cell. And hopefully this was causing the ECU problems, because Lord knows I don't need another need another problem with this. But yes, this load cell, I love the idea of a load cell. I love what it does, but the whole load cell system definitely needs to be redesigned. This thing is in a real tough metal spiral protective casing, and even in that though, these corn stalks got it. Fresh cut corn stalks are hell on everything except for probably a bush hog. Let's fire it back up, and hopefully our problem has gone away and we can keep on drilling. All right, no warnings pop up. Just resuming my task, rating fan speed. I think we're good to try it again. All right, one thing I haven't really talked about on this drill is ground clearance. All the drills I've run, a John Deere 750 and 1560, and I think their air seeders are designed the same way with same row units. They're not known for having a lot of ground clearance, especially compared to like planters or whatever. Well, this Bourgualt CD 872 has got even less ground clearance than what my John Deere's do. And I haven't actually put a tape measure on it yet, but I do know it's got less ground clearance just because of the row unit design and not being on a rock shaft. It's got hydraulic cylinders that pick it up, but it's definitely got less ground clearance, and it's caused me some problems trying to plant some of my fields. Here in West Tennessee, our fields are usually heavily terraced, and we got one right here. This is one that I actually reshaped this spring to be able to plant across it, taking out several other terraces and making this one just a little bit taller, but shaping it where we could farm over it without any problems. Hadn't had any problems with any of our equipment, corn head or planter or spray or anything else going up over it. However, when I tried to cross it with this air seeder here, you can see right there, it bottomed out real good. And you can see my holes where I actually spun out. And I think what's really killing us on this is, we don't have a whole lot of clearance up under the row units themselves, but this thing is even longer. We got our main carrying wheels back here a little bit farther than normal. But we've also got this third row of shanks right here, which is the mid-row benders where you can apply, fertilizer in between your rows with this. So this just lengthens the whole thing even more. So we got support on my, rear axle. We got support down there, but then we got all this distance here trying to cross a terrace like this with low ground clearance. It just doesn't work. Now, are we able to plant our farms? Yes, we are. We're just not able to plant them the way that we're used to planting them. We got to take this kind of stuff into consideration. So I'm gonna have to divide this basically into 2 separate fields. This side of the terrace and then that side of the terrace. And this is where I think that if the row units were on a rock shaft, like I talked about in my initial review of this air seeder, I think that would aid in ground clearance if they would the lifting and downforce mechanisms, they'd make that more like John Deere than what they got. Also, to show you what the tongue weight has done to my tractor here. Yep, yeah, you're looking at it right. Bolts holding my clevis on, one of them snapped when I tried to cross that terrace. Never seen that happen before. This thing is a load on the tractor. And thank God for safety chains, otherwise this air seeder would have rolled somewhere way down there, and I don't think I would have liked the results. That's another lesson in safety right there. Safety chains, you might only need them once or twice in your life, but if you got them, you sure are going to be glad that you used them, I guarantee you. So, looks like my day is going to be pretty much over. I got a pretty long hike back to my service truck there, and I got to take this off, track down some more bolts, and hopefully be back up running in the morning. Oh, and just in case you're wondering, I've got the super heavy duty drawbar on this tractor. This is the same drawbar that's on the Case IH Magnum series. You know, made, I don't know what the rating on it is, but it's made, this drawbar is made for a whole lot bigger tractors than what it's actually on, and the same way with the clevis here. So the 35,000 pounds this tractor's having to tote around, 35,000 pounds without the seed, you know, it's doing a number on it. All right, we're back out here in the field this morning. We got our new bolts, but I forgot and left the clevis back at the shop. Thank God my head's attached, otherwise I'd forget that. But while we're waiting on Andy to go back to the shop and grab the clevis, let me show you another great feature about this air seeder. I don't think I mentioned it yet. All right, as you can see, you know, our tongue is pretty much dropped all the way to the ground, and you can imagine how much it would take to jack that thing up. But wait, we don't have to jack it up. Watch this. Oh, it's got a hydraulic jack on there. How nice is that? It's the little things in life. It really is. All right, we just completely ran the tank out of seed. Been keeping real close watch on it so we can be very exact. And when we filled up this last time, we had an exact known amount in the fertilizer truck. There was 8,000 pounds in there that the co-op put in there. Got the receipt to show it. And Bourgualt says that the tank 2 and 3 put together should hold 8,083 pounds. Well, we weren't able to get all 8,000 pounds in those 2 tanks, and we stuffed them as full as we could. We kicked it over in the corners, and we were just barely able to get the grates back down in there. And then we weighed out what was left in the fertilizer truck, which wound up being right at 100 pounds. So we were able to get a total of 7,900 pounds in those 2 tanks, which is just a little less than what Bourgualt claims they can get in there. And anyway, now our tanks have just run completely dry, and it's showing that there's still 629 pounds left in the tank. You know, our rate has been on 62 pounds an acre all the time. We've done multiple calibrations, double checking, and each calibration load has been just right on the money. But anyway, doing some simple calculations, we're about 8% off. That means that this air seeder is putting out about 8% above what I actually have it programmed and calibrated for, and I really don't exactly know why or how I can get that any more accurate. And again, I want to state that we're planting a cover crop blend. I think we're planting 7 different species, and all of them have different seed sizes, densities, and everything else. And I don't know if that's throwing it off or there's something in the software that's throwing it off, but this thing is over applying by close to 8%. And you know, with cover crop seed, the cost, you know, this cost me about $50 an acre. You know, adding an extra 8% to that, I mean, it adds up over the course of 500 acres. So far, I haven't been extremely impressed with accuracy. I'm very impressed with the ease of the calibration, but apparently the calibration is not quite as accurate as what I want to. So once we get to planting wheat, where we're planting, one species, got a very consistent density and everything, we'll do several calibrations and try it and see if we can get this thing more accurate than what it's doing in cover crops. So we got everything done but about 12 acres left on this farm, but we're out of seed and we got beans that need to be cut. So we're gonna go hop on the combine, get started cutting some of these possibly 100 bushel beans. I can hope. I'll probably be disappointed, but I can hope. But anyway, I know we got some great beans out there. Time to get them out, and then we'll finish up this last 12 acres when we get back to planting cover crops, because we got to plant cover crops behind those beans. So we'll get this finished up later in the week, and then I'll bring this drill back in action whenever we get done picking cotton, get started planting our wheat. We'll run this drill through its paces on the wheat planting, and to see just how good it's going to do. Hopefully we got the bugs worked out. It runs smoothly this morning. The only time I had to get off was to go back there and verify that I was out of seed. So hopefully we got all the bugs worked out, and our wheat planting will go quite a bit smoother than what this cover crop planting is going with this Bourgualt CD 872 air seeder. So appreciate y'all watching. See you in the next one.